Waterfall, the CCW podcast.
Hello and welcome to an episode of Waterfall, your water-saving podcast brought to you by CCW, the Consumer Council for Water. As you all know, we are all about saving water, saving money, saving energy, saving the planet, saving everything, but essentially saving water. That's the point of this podcast. So I'm here with you today, me, Kath, hello, and I am joined, as always, by the guru that is our wonderful Karen Gibbs.
Hello there, Kath.
Hiya, Karen. And keeping us on the straight and narrow, we've got producer Tom.
Hi, Kath. Hi, Karen. Hi, everyone out there listening to Waterfall.
Well, we've got a really interesting episode this week because this is a rare opportunity for Mike to go walkabout and to actually go along to a highly sustainable brewery, which not only considers things like its carbon footprint and things like that, but is also adopting water recycling for producing their beer.
It's true. This is surely Mike's dreams all wrapped up together as one. We've let him out of CCWHQ alone, unattended, and the place that he's gone to is a brewery, and a brewery that's making beer you can feel good about. It's the dream. A beer that can harvest our grey water like this one. I won't give any spoilers away, but it's a really exciting episode. Some really interesting points. So before we listen to Mike at the brewery though, we should first say you can get in touch with us. We love to hear from you. Please do email us. We are at podcast@ccwater.org.uk. And you can find us on all good social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, all the standard ones, X, and just search for...
It's CCW Voice, we are, CCW Voice.
Anyway, on that bombshell, with no further ado, let's bring on Mike.
This podcast is brought to you by CCW, the voice for water consumers.
So it's absolutely brilliant to be here with Chris Garrett, owner and CEO of Devil's Canyon Brewery. Chris, welcome to Waterfall.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Let's just set the scene for our listeners. Just give us a little bit of background of Devil's Canyon Brewery, how long you've been around for, where are we?
We're in San Carlos, California. We started the brewery in 2001. So a little bit of a trek.
Wow. And what motivated you to start a brewery? Because you were just saying before we started recording it, you're an engineer.
So I worked in tech. I've had a number of careers along the way. But I grew up farming and ranching. And so for me, it's all about tangibility and something you can touch, you can see, you can smell, taste, of course, with beer. And I was just drawn to it. I couldn't find beers when I was in college that I like to drink. And so I found that I can make them. It became kind of a side passion. And before you know it, it became a full career. But I made the transition out of tech into beer because technology just wasn't tangible for me. I couldn't see the reaction of a consumer and how they engaged with the product that I was making. And with beer, that tangibility just came true. And it was like, oh my God, they love it or they hate it. And I know it right now, And so I jumped right in and started making beer. I was making beer for bars and restaurants under private label, so I didn't even have a brand. We entered a competition way back in 2003. Turns out we didn't really know it was a competition. We thought it was just a beer festival. And we ended up winning, and we went on tap at Shoreline Amphitheater, a really large concert venue. Walked in, talked to their F&B people and said, hey, what do you guys want to call the beer? And they were like, oh, no, you need to create a brand. And I said, oh God, like tomorrow? They were like, yeah, tomorrow. And so we went to the local museum in the town that we started in. I walked in the door, opened a book, and it said Devil's Canyon. And that was the original name of this region. When the Spaniards came, they saw the Indians, they thought them to be devils. Of course, it's a misnomer, and nothing's evil about our beer or what we do, but it's kind of a misnomer. And we just embraced the name and overnight became Devil's Canyon. And, 20-something years later, here we are just making it.
So this was a side hustle that then just became your life?
Completely, yeah. It was a hobby. And it really it became a whole lot more than a hobby.
So. We can tell from the minute that we came to the facility that it's a big old place you've got here now.
Yeah, we have about 50,000 square feet. We started out in just like a small garage, and that became 2 garages and 3 garages and I think 11 garages. and in 2013, we recognized we needed to do something else. And so we found this building. When we first showed up here, it was a hovel. It was absolutely it was terrible. And we bring sustainability practices to everything we do. And so when I looked at that, I said, we need to find a way to rebuild this and to make it right. Just so happens that Tesla was here before us. So this is the old Tesla R&D for the Roadster and the S-Class. So we're the facility you guys are sitting in today. This was origination of Tesla. And so it kind of fits with the sustainability. It was never the plan, it just worked that way. But as we tour you through the facility later, you'll see about 90% of the infrastructure here comes from somewhere else. So along the way, from our farming and ranching background, we looked at resilience in farming and ranching and said, we need to find ways to incorporate things that could be reused. And so we did that same ethos here. We said, okay, we'll go to buildings that are being torn down and we'll utilize things that most people will throw away. And so we created a path for that. And then we reuse things throughout. Wire, pipe, stainless equipment. This table that we're sitting at right here actually came from Homeland Security. They were going to throw it away. These chairs came from a defunct agricultural company that was down the street. I mean, it's everything. Even the whiteboards on the walls came from a bank that they were going to throw out, And so this is just one room. Imagine 50,000 square feet of that. It's quite enormous.
Wow.
And that even goes into the brewing equipment. A lot of the brewing equipment was utilized from other industries. We have our boiler came from a school in the Midwest. Our kettles came from a dog food plant somewhere else. I mean, we could do this all day. But we carry the ethos of, is it right for the environment? Is it right for our finances? And then, is it also right for our community? Do we have social equity? Can we grow people? Can we do the right thing for those that work with us, for us, and around us? And so we carry those 3 tenets in everything we do.
So I want to come back to your wider sustainability practices later, because I've been reading about what you guys do, and it's been very, very impressive. You're aiming for zero carbon, which is great. So let's circle back around to that. But obviously, I'm here, and I was interested in the beer that you've made from recycled water. Now, to me, this is like a dream come true. My 2 favourite things, water, professional interest, obviously love water, and then, personal interest in beer. So overlaying those 2 things, it's amazing. So can you just tell us a story about how did it come about? You teamed up with Epic Cleantec?
We did, out of San Francisco, yeah.
Yeah, so just tell us that story.
Initially, they approached us. We had done a project with another brewery. We do contract manufacturing for other companies. So we make products for other companies under their brand. And we had made a recycled water project type beer years ago, and these guys had heard about it, and they said, hey, can you do the similar? And I said, well, yeah, sure, we can do it. And water's a challenge for us. I mean, you have to realize over 90% of beer is water. And when you think, too, in a brewery environment, roughly it takes about 9 gallons of water to make 1 gallon of beer. And that to me is insane. We have to change that. And so I got into that mindset, what can we do there? And just so happened these guys came along and they said, hey, we are taking water from large, big multi-tenant buildings, and we're taking all the gray water from the showers and the sinks, and we're filtering that down to be cleaner than what you'd find from your municipality. And I said, I don't believe you. I said, really? And so they said, well, we'll send you samples. And I said, great. So they sent the samples, we sent them out, we had them tested, we did some internal testing, and we said, oh my gosh, this water's great. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, it's better than what we get from the pipe. And so we turned around and we said, okay, yeah, we'd love to take on the project. And didn't really think much about it, other than we're going to make this beer for you. It's a test for your system, kind of go from there. Well, we had no idea that we'd be on the front page of every newspaper in the world, and interviewed by everybody, including great people like you guys.
Well, we saw you in Time magazine as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wow, was this one of the innovations from 2023?
It is. Yeah. I mean, it's shocking. It was never about trying to be popular. It was about doing the right thing. California has a major water issue. It comes and goes every few years, but it's getting dramatically worse as time goes on. We see these really deep swings where all of a sudden we just don't have any rain. And I would say it's probably our greatest resource, and we have to find a way to preserve it. And if we're operating at 9 gallons of water for every 1 gallon of beer produced, that's not going to scale over time. So we need to find new solutions. And so we set out to do it. We came together with Epic, made the beer, wasn't sure how it would taste. We were terrified. We were like, because there's a lot of connotation that comes with that, right? It's like, this is, well, it turns out it's magical. Absolutely perfect. The beer has a long shelf life, surprisingly, more so than what we typically make. Mm-hmm. It is crisp, it's clean. You can compare it side by side with beers made from water from the municipality, and they're almost identical. In fact, we've put this in front of, this is a Kölsch style ale that we made. We've put this in front of folks from Cologne, from Germany.
Yeah, Kölsch is Cologne beer for people who don't know. Yep.
And they picked our Kölsch over some of the Kölsch that were made in that region. So that's pretty cool.
So you've offended some Germans.
No, at the end of the day, they love it and they think it's a great concept, and it's the right way to go.
Have you taken it across to Germany and got them to try it?
This beer has been all over the world, absolutely. They've done a number of different road shows with it. Epic is the best partner we could ever hope for. Those guys, they understand marketing. They get that so much better than we might in some cases. Although our team is very well versed, they've put this in front of so many people because people at the core really understand the need for it, and they run to that. So, which I can't say I've ever done such a cool project. It's really neat.
I've been sitting here showing self-control because before we started recording, glass of it is Epic OneWater Brew, right?
That's right. That's right.
It's from one building, isn't it? This
it is,
1550, is that right?
It is, yeah.
It's this apartment building in San Francisco.
It's a large multi-tenant building in San Francisco, and the challenge there is how do you get that water from there to here, right? So we had to truck it. And, the long term for us is that we'd like to be able to take those same sorts of systems and have it more regionally based, and so that we actually start to recycle our own water here with those same systems. So this was a true proof of concept all the way around. Now, where you run into challenges is that this hasn't been done. And so the regulations don't exist. And so when we put this product out, we actually had to put it out under the auspices of a test. We couldn't commercialize it and sell it, right? So we couldn't put it on the market as something that was saleable, right? And so turns out all the methodologies we've used are becoming the actual litmus for the whole system. So going forward, everything that we're doing and pioneering then becomes the protocol for people to do that in the future. And that's really cool. And, we're going well above and beyond. And we're very open about it. And it's like, look, this is how we do it. So we've shared that data with local health departments, with the water boards, with California Department of Health, FDA, and others. And we're trying to work towards commercialization.
FDA, just for our UK listeners.
That's the Food and Drug Administration of the United States. They pretty much control any thing that you're going to put in your body. And so a highly, highly regulated group. Yeah. We exceed what anyone ever anticipated. And we're going to continue to do that. Because there could be some bad players out there that just take some swamp water and then just kind of throw it into a can. And, I would never do that. And so for us, we're setting that protocol and with the goal to commercialize it. We want to get this out in the market. We want to start selling it. Hopefully within a year that will happen.
So what needs to change for you to be able to commercialize the product?
Well, the first part was to really work with the regulators to try to understand their need set. And what we found was that there is no oversight for us specifically. Because beer, there is no known pathogen that can grow or live in it. Because the alcohol content, the acidity, nothing can live in it.
Part of the original history of beer,
That's right.
particularly
Safer than the water.
Brewing. Yeah, why people made lots of low alcohol beer in the UK hundreds of years ago.
It has a lot of protein. It's really good for you. In moderation, of course, like any alcohol, right? But
I'm glad you put that in.
Yeah, right, exactly. But people drank beer instead of water because it didn't have pathogens. So that's kind of the first step, is to say, okay, we have a product that is safe, but there was no oversight there. And so now we're having to actually work with those regulators to create that oversight, to create those systems, to make sure that players in the future do it the right way. And so within the next year, we should be able to put it on the shelf, commercialize it and sell it.
Wow.
So great proof of concept. The product's phenomenal. We did it the right way. We're going to continue to do it the right way. So it's really neat.
That is fantastic, because I had just assumed that you'd done it as a proof of concept and were happy for it to stay like that.
Oh, yeah, no. I want to get it out there.
I can tell by the twinkle in your eye that you really do. Yeah. You really want to get that out there, right?
I do. And not just, it's not just the financial side of it. It's very much because it's the right thing. And as we drive forward, we want to implement those systems here so that we are saving water. Because in the next 10 years, oil is going to probably have a price that's going to be lower than water per gallon. That's a reality. And we need to do everything we can to work that direction.
So if you can't currently sell it, what do you currently do with it?
So we demonstrate it and we give it out. And in cooperation with Epic, we put it in front of the people that can make a difference. And we really want to show, look, this product is the same, if not better, than what's out there. And it can be done. We've proved it. And yes, it's an investment for us both, but it's the right one.
And how much of the product have you currently made then?
A good amount, yeah. If we were to put that into numbers, barrel is done on a per barrel basis. In the test runs that we've run, we've done 2 effective tests, roughly in the neighborhood of about 40 barrels. There's about 31 United States gallons per barrel. So it's significant in order to test it at scale.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're not abusing the regulation that's there currently by doing that.
No, I'm going to have a taste.
Please, I'd love to see what you think.
We need... Shame it's... we're not filming this. You need a reaction video.
Right, exactly, yeah.
What would you like Waterfall to cover next? Send your water-saving topics to podcast@ccwater.org.uk.
This is a really clean, crisp beer that I'm tasting here. I mean, look, you're probably thinking this is an average temperature day. Like from a Brit time, like absolutely roasting.
Right, it's warm, yeah.
This is like a massive heat wave. So this is just the sort of beer for a hot day. It's fantastic.
No, it's crushable for sure.
It's very, very drinkable. Have you had any refusals from a kind of yuck factor point of view?
Oh, totally, yeah. I mean, we've had some people that are like, oh, I would never. And very few, though. I mean, I think people... Like I said, at the core of it, they recognize the issue and they say, okay, I'll try it. I've had, if it was a percentage based, it's a fraction of a percent of people that say no. We know historically there were some other large companies, large beer manufacturers that had attempted it in different regional areas and they saw some pushback, but that's dated. And I think that if you go back in time, people have become very, very educated and knowledgeable about the fact that water is becoming more and more precious. And so they're able to kind of open their mind a bit and say, yeah, maybe. But from a scientific standpoint, if we can then combat that and say, look, we've done the testing. It's actually better than what you're getting from the tap. Then you can't really argue that. And something we need to remind people about too is every drop of water on this planet is here from the beginning. It doesn't go away. It doesn't recreate it.
Recycled, right?
Right, it is. And so while our planet does a really good and effective job at recycling water, we're starting to recognize that a lot of the water that's being recycled by our planet is affected by other things. Agricultural, chemicals, plastics, you name it, those things are starting to show up in the water because, you didn't initially have that influence of all those things. Now you do. Humanity's really put an impact on it. So now if we can come in and say, well, it might have a yuck factor to you today, but let's look at that. It's actually not. It's better. It's cleaner. And potentially it's better for you. The other thing too is we add minerals in that really replicate that region for the Rhine River, Cologne and whatnot. And those things are good for you. I mean, just like UK beers are full of magnesium because the water's rich in it, we do the same sort of thing here. We're actually adding back minerals that your body is depleted and really needs. And so I dare to say it's good for you.
I've been arguing that case for years.
Yeah, right.
Some people want to deny that fact. So I'm interested in your future plans. So obviously commercializing it is something you want to do. What about other varieties of beer?
Well, most definitely. The steps here are to overcome and create systems and have regulation so that we're all doing it the same way and we're all following a protocol. The next would then be to put it out there, commercialize it with a Kölsch style ale because we want to really show consumers, the fragility of Kölsch and how they'll see that if there's a flaw, it'll be there. But then to introduce it to most products, we'd like to put it into others. And like I've stated, we really want to start to recycle water on site, and that is a longer term plan there. The next piece too is to see it utilized elsewhere. We want to see it go into other products, sodas, waters, teas.
Yeah.
We'd like to see it, go into any liquid type product out there that uses water as a base. And there's no reason it couldn't.
Have other breweries approached you and said, how have you done this?
A few, yeah. And there are some that are doing it as well. I mean, we're all impacted and feeling the same pain. And so it's a natural evolution. Within the next 5 years, we'll see regulation that will actually cause reuse. We've started to see that in San Francisco about 6 years ago, and we started to see some of the legislation come forward that said we needed to reuse. It was probably a little too soon. The protocol started to be created, and that's what we've been following along. But we'll see that that's going to become a requirement for a lot of manufacturers to actually do this sort of activity.
Yeah, because I was reading that in San Francisco, if you build 100 square feet building now, you have to have water reuse within that building.
That's correct, yeah.
I hadn't heard of that anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, and that's where Epic comes in. I mean, they're the experts in that technology. This is space shuttle, science fiction almost, what they've done. It's magical. And so they're building these large high-rises with the Epic systems in them, and they're recycling that water on site. And it's going beyond now just to grow the plants around the front exterior of the building, right? It's going back into systems for laundry and everything else. Why can't it go into a food product? It should.
So have any occupants of the building, the 1550 building, drunk your beer?
They have, absolutely.
They have. I like that. That's proper recycling, right?
Oh, it is. It's full circle, yeah. Now, granted, we're not taking it from toilets yet.
Yeah. So this is grey water. Again, just for listeners, grey water is from showers,
and sinks, laundry.
Yeah. But not toilet, which is known as black water in the UK. Is that the same here?
It's black water.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there are municipalities that are taking black water and recycling it for their municipalities. It is being done currently in the United States on a large scale. So if it's good enough for that, then why not good enough for beer?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I've got a couple more questions for you. first one is about the future, right? So when Elon Musk builds his facility on Mars,
Right.
and you're here in a Tesla facility, right?
Yeah.
Will they be cracking open on a Friday Devil's Canyon beer made from 100% recycled water?
Well, I sure hope they're doing that. But I hope that we find ways to do it the right way on every level. It's not just the water. It's not just the power. It's not just the CO2. It has to be all those things together, and we have to do something that brings all of these different technologies and ideas into one product. And I'll go to Mars and drink a beer with you.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
One of our regular listeners, Steve, I think, he'll hate the fact I'm giving him a shout out. We'd love to be on Mars drinking a beer made out of from recycled water. Now the last question we ask all our guests, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, but we ask everyone, so there's no escape, is do you know your own personal water use, so in your own household, in terms of litres per person per day? We have a league table, I'm just warning you.
Oh, no. I think it's a lot lower than the average, and we're really sensitive to it. So much so that in our household, my wife was a vegan for a number of years for that exact reason. And, largely it's driven because her childhood, there was a scarcity of water where she grew up here. And where I grew up in middle of the United States in New Mexico, actually, central eastern New Mexico. And we had a pretty decent amount of water, but we were dryland wheat farmers. And so we have great respect for that. So in our household, we use very little. And, my wife was always kind of looking over us and saying, So on an individual basis, it's at most probably about 30 gallons per individual per day. It's not very high.
I will do the conversion to litres later.
Okay, yes, thank you. So, you're probably somewhere in the neighborhood, I don't know, maybe about 30 to 35 to 40 liters per individual per day.
Wow, if that's right, that would be like the lowest we've had.
It's low. It's very low. I mean, we actually recycle water from our roof at our house, and from any rain we capture that and we use it year round for irrigation for our plants and our gardens and everything, and that's the right way to do it. So I mean, we have a pretty low impact. So, and I might have been a little bit off on my liters to gallon calculation. Let's say 50 liters is about 13.2 gallons. So let's take it up to maybe about, I don't know, 55.
Well, I think we've got someone calculating doing the conversion for us right now. This is great. Normally I'm left floundering, but luckily we have assistants here.
Right. Probably need it. Yeah. So we're probably, like I said, maybe 30 liters at the most.
130.
Yeah.
130. Okay, that's not bad
for three people. That's not.
Well, it's your total.
Yeah.
Oh right. Wow.
Yeah.
So in the UK, the average is 146 liters per person per day.
Okay. Wow.
So that, for a family, an impressive figure. Yeah. Obviously, we'll verify all these using a very rigorous process. Mm-hmm. But look, fascinating stuff, and the story you tell is far wider than just about making a beer from recycled water. The story is far wider on sustainability in general, which I think is a really strong one for all our listeners, because it's great to hear people who care about it and are practicing what they preach as well. So it's fantastic. Yeah. But this has been, we've made 75 episodes of Waterfall, and this has been the longest one, the longest gestation period.
Okay.
Because I think it was January, in fact, that I first reached out to you guys. So now we're here in August. So it's been worth the wait. So thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for coming out for it. I mean, we like talking about it because, like I said, this is the right way. This is the right stuff.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Be sure to head back through the archives and check out all the past episodes of Waterfall.
Wowzer, there we go. I certainly learned some stuff there, Karen. Devil's Canyon Brewery, something I'll be looking up if I ever am in California.
I think the thing that I found really interesting was how important it is to join up with the right partners. So, the brewery came across the company that is responsible for creating this really advanced way of processing and filtering water and treating the water to really high standards. And it was a match sort of made in heaven, really, wasn't it?
Wasn't it? Yeah, it's true, isn't it? The Epic Cleantec for the Epic OneWater Brew beer there. And clearly were exactly the people that Chris's brewery needed to meet. And I know when they've got lots of other, he talked at the start, didn't he, about how lots of the stuff within their offices, the tables, the whiteboards, is all repurposed, recycled. He clearly is a man on a mission. But I thought, a couple of things have fascinated me. Firstly, 9 gallons of water to create 1 gallon of beer.
I know, it's phenomenal.
Isn't it? Right up there with how much water gets into a banana business, isn't it? Every day's a school day. I'm sure producer Tom will remind us what episode that was.
It was Go Bananas for Water Waste. It was with Helen White. She was a great guest. I remember that from Rap.
Yeah, she was
From
indeed.
That's it. But I also thought it's so interesting. We have lots of discussions going on across England, particularly at the moment, about reusing grey water and water recycling. And we have discussions, don't we, around how there was a narrative that went out, I believe there was something along the lines of toilet to tap, which just absolutely isn't the case. Recycling water, it is a water cycle. It's so important that we, treat our water, reuse it, make it accessible so that it's there for us when we need to clean it up into drinking water. And I just thought this was an amazing example, actually, of just how effective water recycling is. The fact that it was cleaner there than the municipality water in some instances, as Chris was saying.
Yes, that was really quite the statement, wasn't it? I just, as I say, I go back to the point I was making, that we've got the technology, we can do this now, and it's too good an opportunity not to take up.
Absolutely. And if we all want to keep drinking beer into the future, we're going to have to look at and I do. More seriously, we know that water's precious. I know that listeners of this podcast know that. That's why people listen, to find ways to save water. And I just think it's so exciting to hear of somebody who's managed a really water-intense production line to find a way to use that recycled, that grey water, what is traditionally just waste, to bring it into a really high quality product, and that it's actually setting the path towards some regulation and legislation that would make that, where the beer can be commercialised and sold, where other breweries will be able to do the same. That could be a real game changer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What he was describing there is the future, isn't it?
Absolutely. There we go. Waterfall, bringing you the future as well as water-saving ideas. If you want to hear more about the future, you can listen to future episodes. Boom, nice. All available to stream on all good podcasting platforms. Do search for us, Waterfall. Like, subscribe, get notified about future episodes, all that good stuff. It's a diverse range of subjects that we cover, but always with water saving at the heart of it. If there's something you want to tell us about or would like us to explore for you, email us, podcast@ccwater.org.uk. And of course, keep up to date on our latest goings on all your social media channels. Just search CCW Voice there. Thanks for being with us, Karen and Tom. It's been a pleasure, and that is goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me, Karen.
And goodbye from me, producer Tom. Bye, guys.